Thank you. Let me meet just what I need to bust. Fuck!
On March 25th, 2013, Actus Studios concluded its run of the und Panzer anime show. It received favorable reviews and was quite successful with its sales of physical copies. However, the show was facing production issues with keeping up on the show's schedule. A change had to happen, so they switched to releasing und Panzer in a series of movies instead. This decision allowed for looser deadlines and made the property more financially successful. und Panzer der Film released in Japan 2015 and grossed $22.6 million USD, or $3,294,797,500 yen in the box office. The movie was also nominated for 3 awards in 2016 and won 2 of them: the Japanese Movie Critics Awards Sanctuary Award and the Suin Awards Best Dramatic Presentation Award. Even with all the success this movie has had, is it any good? Yeah, it's pretty good. If you would like to skip the recap, or just don't want the movie to be spoiled for you, you can skip to the review at this time. Before the movie, an OVA with a match against Italy happens, and it gives a little more context to certain actions that happen in the film, so I'm gonna try to cover that super fast. The OVA takes place after the main cast has defeated Sanders, the Americans, during the show, and the next match is against Italy. Italy has a new super secret tank for the next match with the OVA Academy. The girls are briefing about Italy's tanks lineup. Mako is dead as hell. Yukari pulls up with information on the super secret tank. Italy is broke as shit, so they make a lot of food to make their money. Yukari finds out that the super secret tank is a P-40. They do a bit of training. The match starts and Italy begins with Operation Macaroni and places a bunch of fake tanks around made of cardboard. The Stook starts touching tips of the enemy. Most of the team gets chased by shit cans, and they end up surrounding the flag tank and win the match. The OVA is really good. You should watch it. 8 out of 10. Alright, now let's get on to the movie. und Panzer der Film opens with a celebratory exhibition match after the events of the show. During the match, we are introduced to 2 new factions, Finland and China. Nah, just kidding, it's Japan. The British are surrounded by most of the ORI's team and their tanks, but then the British start laying Japan out, forcing ORI's team to retreat to a city. The M3 Lee team attempts to flank the enemy, but fucks it up to no one's surprise, and Saki, like a toddler, speaks her first words to point out a butterfly. Then they get fucking blasted. The Japanese tank commander has a form of auditory dyslexia and rushes to the enemy, dying instantly. Miho's tank gets chased for a bit, then causes a gas line explosion, blowing up some poor dude's house and getting him that fat insurance check. After a bit more retreating, the girls drive their tanks into a ceasefire zone, endangering a bunch of innocent people, and then make it to a beach. A KV-2 shows up, kills itself, then the girls get surrounded by the enemy and lose the match. After a bit of relaxing and winding down, the girls go to take their tanks back to the school when something sus happens. The school has been shut down, so the entire effort of saving the school in Season 1 has gone out the window. The assholes with the glasses, that is the head of the school or some shit, is also taking their tanks and giving them away. The girls pack their things and prepare to leave, but before they go, Sanders is called in to take the tanks, sneak them away on a massive-ass plane, and give them back in the future. After leaving the school, they are transferred to a building in the middle of nowhere as temporary housing. Everyone becomes depressed as shit. Mako is borderline suicidal, and the hall monitors have lost their purpose in life. Sanders airdrops their tanks back to them, then Miho and her crew go for a ride until they see this weird-ass bear museum. The bear inside gets jumped by some gang members, and Miho meets the antagonist of the story, Alice Shimada, but doesn't know who she is. Anzu meets with the glasses dude in the Japanese Panzer Federation, attempting to get the school reinstated, while Miho returns home and spends time with her sister until their mother leaves to talk with the glasses dude alongside Anzu. While there, Anzu gets a contract signed stating that if ORI Academy beats a university-level team, that the school will be reopened. The match will be Annihilation, which means the team to take out all of the enemy team's tanks wins the match. ORI is about to start the match, but everyone pulls up, making it an even match. The British, Russians, Americans, Japanese, and Germans bring a lot of tanks. However, the real heroes are Finland and Italy, with one of the best tanks ever designed. A war council is created to come up with a strategy for winning the match, and then they head out. At the start of the battle, there are some small engagements along with most of the Japanese suicide charging to their deaths. But then a fucking nuke gets dropped on them. Clara, one of Katusha's teammates, stays back to hold the line and gets absolutely obliterated. The KV and her second-in-command also stay behind so Katusha can escape, and she loses them all. After watching all of her comrades die, she is traumatized. The Italians find the nuke launcher and see it's a Mercer Carl. The Finnish ramp over a canyon right into the enemy, start drifting around and run off, eventually crashing into an enemy, losing their tracks, still drive, and then get shot, lose half of their rims, and keep driving while balancing on one side and take an enemy down with them. The volleyball team attempts to launch the tiny little Italian shit can into the Mercer Carl, but fuck it up. The Italians, stuck upside down, start running their tracks, and the student council and the Stug ramp off of it, destroying the Mercer Carl. After all that fighting, the girls regroup and leave to find a better spot to hold out. They arrive to an amusement park and set up for the enemy. The Italians ride on the roller coaster rails to be scouts, and everyone else is waiting at entrances as a trap. The enemy flank them and show up with one of 2 ever-produced prototype T-28 super heavy tanks, forcing the OVA team to retreat once again. The Japanese hide out in duck costumes, attempting to trick the enemy and run around like little goobers and keep them busy. Eventually, the T-28 catches up, forcing another retreat for the team. While retreating, the M3 leatards get lost and separated from the group, while everyone else is surrounded into a pit by the enemy. The remaining Japanese troops show up in an attempt to break the encirclement, but fuck up really bad and fall in with them. The M3 Lee watches from a hill, wondering what they can do as they see their friends encircled, when Saki speaks up again.
Ferris wheel.
They destroy the Ferris wheel's supports, and it rolls onto the enemy, breaking their encirclement, and everyone follows the Ferris wheel out. The girls set up more tricks, including the macaroni strategy from the Italian OVA episode. After a bit of guerrilla warfare, the girls start losing many of their tanks. The Italians start getting chased on coaster tracks, and the M3 Lee team finally does something good with themselves and kills the tanks, allowing the Italians to run. Then they die. The Italians skip themselves across the water, but get blasted. Eventually, it is down to Miho and Maho as the only ones left. They kill the remaining 2 shitter tanks that the enemies have, and it becomes a 1v2 with Alice. An intense fight drags on through the amusement park arena until Alice slips up overseeing the fucking bear mascot, giving Miho and Maho the advantage. Maho blows her sister's shit out, launching her towards Alice's tank, and they destroy her, winning the match. After winning the match, Glasses Man is not happy, but the school is reopened and everyone celebrates. Der Film meets my expectations well and is a very entertaining movie. It's funny, filled with good action, and has a decent plot to keep the momentum going. The action in this movie gets better compared to the show in multiple ways. Over-the-top silly moments happen more often, but it doesn't take away from the enjoyment and story. It also fixes an issue I had with the combat in the show. People no longer die after getting hit once. In the movie, they put a lot more ricochets and parts getting hit off that doesn't take the tanks out of the fight immediately, making the combat a lot more fun to see. Side characters also get a lot more time in here, and sometimes without the main ones present. Some of the things the characters do show up in some sort of way later in the movie. Anteater Squad, the gaming femboys, works out while the school is shut down, and during the amusement park battle, they have almost no trouble lifting shells and operating the tank. And at one point, one of them just straight punches a shell. As for the main characters, we do get a moment with Miho and Maho back home. As much as I like these little moments, I do wish we got more of them. The antagonist of this film I didn't really like too much. Her motivation feels very out of place with the Bear Museum and her obsession with it. To me, it feels like it's only there to give Miho and Alice a connection of some sort. But I think that the motivation could have been much better if she was more competitive with the Nishizumi versus Shimada family style. Something like that would have worked way better in my opinion as a motivating factor to win the match against them, and it could have made things a lot more personal. Maybe this is just me and I'm missing something bigger here, or I'm not getting a point to the characters' motivations and backstories, but I'm not a big fan of the antagonist. When it comes to plots in anime, I think most don't have anything too in-depth or above the rest going on, and for Der Film, it's one of those plots. It works for what it's going for, but it doesn't really do much else. Now for me, I don't mind since it's a show for watching action and seeing an occasional history reference. My first time watching this movie, I thought it was a little silly that they have to fight a tournament match to save the school again. But after giving it another watch for the review, I think it works fine. What I hope from the future movies is that they offer a more interesting antagonist, and maybe a more permanent, lasting moment for one of the characters or multiple characters, such as a death or a personal event that affects them and changes how they perform in the tournaments. und Panzer der Film is a great watch if you like action, history references, or just a movie to turn your brain off and enjoy. 8 out of 10, can't wait to see what the M3 Lee team fucks up next time.